So my name is Alex Waterhouse, welcome to TCH Sheffield, and today we're going to do some tips on comp style climbing. So I think comp style climbing has got a bit of a bad rep in the climbing community over the last few years, but it's so much more than just jumping around on big massive volumes. Comp style climbing tends to be a little bit more complex, tends to use slightly bigger holds, and quite often they do have some showier moves. It's not to say that there aren't dynos and things to be getting on with, but the variety that you'll find in comp style climbing is really, really high. So don't be put off from it just because it looks like people are jumping around the whole time. So tip number one is to be fully warmed up for this, and not in the way that you traditionally would be for climbing. So don't just focus on your fingers and your shoulders. This is a full body activity, so it uses every single part of you. I find that my legs get just as work doing this as my upper body. There's so much balancing, toe hooks, flunky tension, like making sure that you're fully connected to your whole body with some climbing beforehand, and I like to do a lot of yoga beforehand to make sure I sort of know where everything is. It's quite coordination based a lot of the time, so figuring out where your feet and your hands are, being connected with yourself is going to help you not get injured doing hard moves and fall in a more controlled way, so you're not going to get hurt when you fall off. All of this comes with practice, but making sure you're building up slowly with these sort of skills so you're not getting totally out of your comfort zone. And just making sure you stay safe while you do stuff. If something doesn't feel like it's a very good idea, it probably isn't. So don't act with quite as much reckless abandon as you see people on the comp mats do. You've got to keep yourself safe in order to keep climbing. So make sure you're nice and warmed up and make sure you're staying within your limits. So tip number two is to drop your heels. Comp climbing is often on bigger holds, volumes, macros, and a lot of the time they rely on really tensiony smears in your feet. On them, you want to make sure that you're dropping your heels down in order to give the rubber as much access to the hold as possible. You're trying to increase the surface area. So this is like the difference between a pair of slicks on a Formula One car and a little skinny road bike tire. Because there's so much more rubber in contact with the road, there's going to be a lot more grip. And that's what we're trying to do with our feet. So if you're feeling sketched out or you're feeling a little bit scared on a hold, drop your heels, trust it, and then if it's going to slip, it'll slip, but at least you're giving yourself the best chance. So tip number three is to take your time. A lot of these problems rely on balance. So balance is, on a slab, is the ability to stand in your feet and stay nice and relaxed. What that means is that there's not a very big gap where your body can be where you're not going to fall out from the wall. Best way to stay in that gap is to take your time, not rush. Nothing worse than going for a move a little too quickly and just falling out that balance point when you feel like you could have done it. So take your time. You're not in a rush to get through any of these boulders. They do take a long time. You might see people whipping up and walking through, but by taking your time and keeping focused on the movement, that's how you're going to learn as quickly as possible. You're going to be able to intuitively feel where those body positions are in the future because you've spent a long time trying to feel through them today. So take your time, don't try and get through the whole boulder at once, maybe just work on those balancing positions a bit at a time, and yeah, you'll be able to find a cool solution. So number four is be creative. These boulders are not left, right, left, right, left, right. Stand on the ground, take your time and really think about what the setter wants from you and how you're going to get through the boulder. There's always more than one way of doing these boulders, every single time. There's always maybe a slightly more powerful version if you're good at that. There might be a jumpy method if you're good at jumping around. There's almost always a flexibility way, like the boulder is not there to be climbed in the same way. It's there for you to express yourself and your strengths on the wall in that moment. So if the first thing you try doesn't work, have a think, what other options are there? Watch other climbers, talk to your friends, see if you can come up with a new solution. Like, one of the most satisfying things in climbing for me is to come out to a boulder for the first time and find a completely new and creative solution that I hadn't thought about before, or a new move that I hadn't experienced. Those are my greatest joys in climbing, when I find myself being drawn into a position and it just works well enough that I can perfectly go through the move. It's like, this is not just a physical sport, it's about being creative and expressing yourself on the wall, and comp boulders are the best place to do that. Because they have a little bit more complexity to it. It's a bit more. So be creative, trust yourself, don't be afraid to fall off and enjoy. So tip number five, and our final tip, is to have full commitment. These boulders reward commitment. They reward going all out on jumps. They reward fully trusting in your feet. They reward a confidence in your climbing that can only come through saying, right, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna try, I'm gonna give it a good go. The only way you're going to express yourself fully as a climber is by fully going for it. And there's you won't know if a way was possible for you if you only tried it at 80%. If you only tried it at 80% and you fell off, all you know is that move doesn't work at 80%. If you try 100% every single time, then you'll know that that move doesn't work if you fall off. So always try your very maximum. Like, it's fun to try hard and fall off. As long as you're doing that safely, like, that is what it's all about. So try hard, be committed, and have fun. So that's my top 5 tips for comp style climbing. Comp boulders are everywhere now. They're at all the hangars everywhere around the world. Like, they are really fun. Don't be put off by them because they seem intimidating or scary. Get in at your level, and hopefully if you follow these tips, you'll have a really, really enjoyable session. If you've got any questions, feel free to give me a message and talk to any of the folks at the hangar. They'll give you a good intro into the comp style stuff. It's super, super fun, so I hope you have a good time. But yeah, see you in the next one.